911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey, everybody. It's good to see you all. Welcome to Behind the Crime Door. For anyone who's new here, I'm Kristen. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining the live stream tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about Delphi, and we're going to talk about what's going on with the Supreme Court and the motions. Hey, Gail. How are you? Good to see you as always. Hi, Melissa. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Shadowbox. Oh, I'm sorry it's been a yucky day. I'm so glad you're here, though. Hey, Cool Gamer. Hi, Lynn. How are you? Hi, Angela. Hey, Miranda. Hey, Tech Death. How are you? So good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Hey, Jamie. How are you, my dear? Good to see you. Hi, Lisa. Hey, Polygraph. How are you? Welcome. Hey, Mitzi. How are you? Oh, no, Sharon, that's not good. Oh, I hope you rest up. That is not good news to hear. My prayers are with you. Oh. But everybody, it's good to see everybody, as I said, and we got a lot to kind of unpack here. There has been a lot going on, obviously, judicially with this case. We've talked about it a lot in the last couple of weeks. And now we're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with these motions. And I'm going to talk about a couple of different things tonight. I want to talk about definitely what the Supreme Court has ordered. Fran Gull asked for a continuance to give her longer than the 19th to come up with a response to the motion that was put forth by the attorneys for Richard Allen on his behalf. And they had ordered the briefs and everything be in, but she asked for additional time. She needed until the end of November. I think the 27th is Monday the 27th is when she asked for the continuance or the extension. So the Indiana Supreme Court ruled, and they ruled on the order reads as follows. On November 6, 2023, we issued an order setting a briefing schedule in this matter and ordering any response due by November 16th, 2023. On November the 8th, we issued an order requiring respondents to either respond to the relator's motion for transcript or to provide the transcript itself by November 16th. On November the 9th, we issued an order granting the Indiana Public Defender Council, the IPDC, leave to appear as amicus curiae and file a brief. Respondents have now filed a motion for extension of time, requesting that the due date to respond to the petition for emergency writ motion for transcript and the IPDC's amicus brief be extended to November 27th. Relator by counsel has filed an objection to the motion. Being duly advised, the court grants respondents' motion for extension of time to respond to the petition for writ of mandamus and motion for transcript. Respondents' response brief and any supplemental records must be filed directly with the clerk of the Supreme Court on or before Monday, November 27th. No further requests for extension will be granted. Any supplemental record must be submitted in the same format required for the record under the original Action Rule 3C and G. And this was done at Indianapolis, Indiana on November 9th, 2023. And it's signed Loretta Rush, the Chief Justice of Indiana. So that happened today. There also was an order. The proposed amicus curiae, the Indiana Public Defender Council, is composed of public defenders and other court-appointed attorneys regularly appointed to represent indigent defendants. Proposed amicus is substantively aligned with the relator who filed a petition for writ of mandamus on November 6th. Proposed amicus filed a motion to appear as amicus curiae according to the Appellate Rule 41, and they tendered a brief. Being duly advised, the IPDC's motion to appear as amicus curiae is granted, and the clerk is directed to file the amicus curiae brief as of the date of this order. Respondents may include any response to the amicus curiae brief in their brief opposing the petition. And this was done at Indianapolis, Indiana on November 9th, and it's signed Loretta Rush, the Chief Justice of Indiana. There was a motion for the extension of time to respond to the petition for writ of mandamus and the motion for transcript filed by the Honorable Francis C. Gull, the special judge in this case. The Honorable Francis C. Gull, by counsel, respectively moves the court for an extension of 5 business days to respond to the relator's petition for writ of mandamus petition, and to respond, that's what the relator's petition, and to respond to the relator's motion for transcript. In support of this motion, the respondent states, respondent is a special judge appointed to the pending Carroll Circuit Court matter of the state versus Richard Allen. The relator's petition was filed November 6th and served through electronic means the same date. On November 6th, the court issued an order setting a briefing schedule in which all briefs opposing this issuance of a writ must be filed with the clerk of the Supreme Court by November 16th. This is the same date that the respondent's brief opposing petition is due in an original action involving the same parties, the state ex rel. Richard Allen versus Carroll Circuit Court. The Office of the Indiana Attorney General has declined to represent respondent in this matter, causing the respondent to need to engage counsel. Late in the day of November 8th, 2023, the respondent engaged the undersigned counsel represent her in this matter. On November 8th, this court issued an order for the respondents to respond to the petitioner's or the relator's motion for transcript, or to submit the transcript as a supplemental record. The deadline to complete the action was set as November 16th. On November 8th, the Indiana Public Defender Council tendered an amicus brief in support of the relator's petition for writ. Due to the time required for respondent to engage counsel to represent her, the complexity of the matter, the requirements to respond to the court's order on relator's motion for transcript, and the addition of arguments set forth in the amicus Indiana Public Defender Council's respondent requires additional time to submit a brief opposing the relator's petition and to comply with the court order on the relator's motion for transcript. The respondent's counsel requires additional time of 5 business days up to the filing November 27th to file a brief opposing this petition and response to motion for transcript. The respondent respectfully moves that this court grant the respondent an additional 5 business days up to and including November 27th to file a brief opposing petition for writ mandamus and response to the relator's motion for transcript. The respondent counsel has conferred with relator's counsel concerning this request. Relator's counsel has informed the respondent's counsel that he does not consent to this request. And she noted that the Thanksgiving holiday falls into this mix. So because of the holiday, the actual 5th business day following November 16th would be Monday, the 27th. So yeah, that's what's been going on. A lot of legal jargon there in those orders and those motions, but basically the Supreme Court said, okay, Fran Gull, you can have your extra 5 business days. And they also ordered that the defense counsel from Indiana will appear in and be allowed to speak basically on Richard Allen's behalf. So that's pretty much what's going on. I wanted to say that on Tuesday night, I believe it was, I watched my dear friend True Crime Web's live stream. And I have to tell you guys, it was one of the best ones that I've ever seen him do regarding this case and what's been going on since Richard Allen's arrest. So if you haven't seen it, You do need to watch it. It was his live stream from Tuesday night. And basically it's his live stream where he plays devil's advocate as he stated he was going to do for us. But I want to expound a little bit on what he said. He talked about the fact that Richard Allen is obviously innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. We can't lose sight of that. Our justice system isn't perfect in this country. And there's a lot of things that need to be revamped, in my opinion, with the justice system. But in actuality, it's one of the best justice systems in the world, if not the best, as far as how it works. And there are certain things about it that do work. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Does it make mistakes? Yes, most certainly it does. There are human beings that are in this system. There are people, and whenever you have human beings involved, there's going to be chances of mistakes and chances of errors. I think, hey, Grismatically, how are you, my dear? So good to see you in my chat. Hey, Shane, how are you? Make sure you do, because I'm serious. You need to listen to what he has to say. One of the things that I love about, hey, Sean, how are you? One of the things that I have to touch on is it's so important for us to step back with a clear head and look at the evidence. And that's one of the things that Steve talks about in his life. He talks about the evidence and the compelling evidence that he believes is compelling towards Richard Allen's guilt, things that are going to be difficult for the defense to overcome. He also mentions the fact that if the defense tries to put forth someone else as being guilty of this crime, Richard Allen is going to be an obstacle for that because he is such a good suspect. He has so many boxes that are checked. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to try to unpack some of that because I firmly believe that there's no way that I, myself, or anyone else that feels this way about the justice system is going to convince those who feel that Richard Allen is being railroaded, that Richard Allen is a patsy, that Richard Allen is the victim of corruption. We're not going to change their minds. Does that mean that I would not continue to try to make them see something maybe a little bit differently as far as the evidence goes? I would hope that they would listen and open their minds to that information. But I do believe that there is a faction out there of people that the old defense attorneys have latched onto on social media that are putting out a narrative for Richard Allen's innocence. And they are pressing it hard. They're pushing it hard. And I believe in my heart of hearts, this is only my opinion, I believe that they're behind it. I believe that I believe that they ran into a situation where they knew they were not going to have a really strong way of defending this man, and they had to come up with something. And the Odinism and the Odinist was the route that they took. Hey, John, how are you? And no matter what, in our courts and on our court system, when you have the defense doesn't have to prove anything, you guys. They don't have to prove anything. That's how our justice system works. Richard Allen doesn't have to prove he's innocent. The prosecution has to prove he's guilty. The prosecution has to prove he's guilty. They have to do that beyond a reasonable doubt in front of 12 of Richard Allen's peers. And it only takes one juror to side with the defense, and it's over. They're done. And they know that. So they only have to convince one person. And I believe that there were a few YouTubers that got in contact with the defense team and pushed their narrative of who they thought was responsible and not Richard Allen being responsible, and the defense went with it. And those of us who have followed this case from day one, who have been in the trenches and looked at every overturned and looked under all the rocks, looked at all the POIs that were put out there in social media, because we have to totally and absolutely admit that law enforcement didn't give us much. Law enforcement didn't talk to us over the last 6 years about POIs. They didn't have one. They didn't name any. But Lord Almighty, were they out there? And their names are long. A long, long list of them. Hey, Boston. How are you? Good to see you. Hi, Vicus V3. And that's what they decided to use as his defense. And their whole mindset was, we only have to convince one juror that this is true. The problem with this is, and I've said all along, you guys, and you guys that follow me know this, I want justice for Abby and for Libby. I want justice. I want the right person or persons convicted of this crime, and I want the ultimate punishment that can be handed down to them. That's what I want to see happen in this case. And when you look at the evidence and what the affidavits show as far as what led to Richard Allen's arrest, it is pretty compelling. And I think it depends on what side of law enforcement you fall on. If you are a type of person who doesn't trust law enforcement and who is anti-law enforcement, you're going to fall onto the side of not believing their affidavits, not believing their evidence. But if you are a person who trusts in our men and women in law enforcement, and who believe that they're out there doing the best that they can in an absolute impossible situation, especially in this day and age, putting their lives on the line every time they put on that uniform. If you're one of those people, you're more than likely going to say, this stuff is important that they put out there in their affidavit. And not only the affidavit for search warrant, but their arrest warrant. It's a lot for Richard Allen to overcome. And it's a lot because he puts himself in the crime scene. He puts himself at the crime scene at the time that the crime is being committed. And that is huge. He tells law enforcement that he was wearing the same clothes that the man in the video that Libby took is. The police came out and told us years ago, that years and years ago, that the man on the bridge in the video is the man who committed this crime. Now, there is a reason that law enforcement believes this. There's a reason that law enforcement believes that the bridge guy is the person who committed this crime. We are not trained detectives. We are not trained law enforcement. They know better than we do. It's their job to know better. They get paid to do this. Now, does that mean that all of them do their job perfectly or belong in that job? No, of course not. Of course not. But it's Shane's right. If it swims and quacks like a duck, it's usually a duck. John, there's so many YouTubers out there that are doing so many different things. I firmly believe that the old defense attorneys are still working diligently trying to keep the narrative out there and keep social media talking about anything and everything except the guilt of Richard Allen. The more that they can put doubt into social media's mind, the better chance they have at putting doubt into the jurors' minds. And it's I think when I understand what you're saying, sees through, but I guarantee you that the prosecution did not bring this case against Richard Allen without knowing the answer to that question. One of the things in law enforcement, and one of the things that you learn really, really early when you're prosecuting cases, and this is one of the things that happened in the OJ trial, if you look at it, you never put a question to a witness that you don't already know the answer to. And in OJ, they did. The prosecution did. They had him try on a glove, and they had never done that before, and they didn't know what the outcome of that was going to be. And it was huge. It was huge. They have covered all their bases, I guarantee you. Nick McClelland has covered all of his bases. They have talked to these witnesses. They know what these witnesses are going to say in court. And Richard Allen changed his story. He changed his story in October of 2022, or after he was arrested. He changed his story with the attorneys and told them that he left the trails before 1:30, and that we know that's not true. We know multiple people saw him. And they're gonna have a lot to deal with. Does that mean that the prosecution has a slam dunk case? No, there is no case out there that's slam dunk. There's just not, because when you have 12 individual people, you have no idea how they're taking in the information. I've been on a jury. I've been on a petit jury. I've also been on a grand jury. And I'm here to tell you guys, when you're sitting there with these people and you've all heard the same evidence, you would be amazed at the people that don't see it the same way. Lots of things come into play. Your jury instruction is always to be non-biased, open-minded. Don't let your biases get in the way. It's hard to do because we all have them. We all have them. So there's just a lot that is there's just a lot going on that really bothers me. I feel that we have been given so little information by law enforcement in the case to some degree that it has led to so much speculation that is wrong. If you go back over time and go back early on in this case to the first few months, there's a lot more truth to what was happening then than to what was being said 5 years later. I understand, Jamie. I totally understand. And, you got to remember that trolls, you're not going to change, and just move on from them. Don't even get into those arguments. I agree with Ruckus 110%. If they want Richard Allen released because he's not guilty, then he needs to go babysit their children. If they feel that strongly that this man is innocent, then they need to go let him babysit their children. I was floored when Bob Motta came out on television and said he thought he was innocent. Honestly, not really floored. He's a defense attorney. It didn't really faze me much, but so many people have put so much weight into what Bob Motta is saying, and I'm sorry, but I'm like, with everything that we know, I don't even know how they could even come up with that. The bullet. Let's talk about the bullet. The unspent shell casing that was found between the girls. It was matched to Richard Allen's gun. Not a probable match, not a possible match, not a maybe. It was matched. This is not a junk science. I think that we're going to find out a lot of things, Kamala, about a lot of this that we aren't aware of. There is so very little known about this man. I looked at his social media when he was arrested. I was able to go in and look and see Kathy's social media. I deep dove it. I looked at everything, pictures, posts. I found it very, very strange that there was nothing after the murders. you would have thought that that would have been a topic of conversation. I found that kind of strange. And I think it's quite interesting that the new defense attorneys, one of them, did an interview last fall before Richard Allen was arrested. I believe it was before he was arrested, talking about the fact that the bullet, or maybe it was after, I guess it must have been after because we didn't know about the bullet until after, was not junk science. So the defense attorney, one of them that is representing Richard Allen right now, that she appointed, doesn't believe that this is junk science at all. Listening to Steve talk about it, True Crime Web, he doesn't either. And there's many cases out there that have utilized this type of evidence. And yeah, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. But it's real easy to throw that narrative out there and use those sound bites, guys. We talked about this the other night. When people throw out things to me like his Sixth Amendment is being violated, don't just say that. Back it up with fact. Show me how. You've got a man sitting in jail who has admitted to 2 family members. Hey, Louisa, how are you, my dear? Good to see you. To 2 family members, his mother and his wife of nearly, I believe, 28 years. To me, that's huge. He didn't admit it to a guard, or he didn't admit it to another inmate. He didn't admit it in interrogation after being deprived food and water and a place to sleep. He didn't do any of that. He admitted this over the phone to his mother and to his wife multiple times on 5 occasions. The defense did not deny that. You guys, the defense did not deny that. And that is huge. And I believe that too much weight has been put on the sketches. So when you ask me about sketches, I believe that Richard Allen looks like both of the sketches. And I believe that if you put both of the sketches on top of one another, you'll see that the main points of the face are the same. Yeah, Gail, Gail says, I don't think the bullet was planted. It was right on top of the leaves. If it was Richard Allen, he was way out in La La Land. He was walking quickly. Yeah, you do on the outside what you're doing on the inside. I believe that, you know, there's so many different things. He had time in those woods that day. If he took the girls off the bridge at 2:13, as we believe he did, and didn't leave the trails until almost 10 minutes to 4, that's a long time. There's a lot of things that could happen that we still do not know because we haven't heard all of the evidence. And I also believe that the bullet is huge. Now, whether it gets becomes admissible, we have to wait and see. And Lynn's right. If it did not come from law enforcement, we can't consider it to be truth. I've said that all along. And from everything I know, his daughter and son-in-law will be testifying. And I've heard that they are on the prosecution's list. Now, that could be for a number of reasons. I believe that it's very possible that they know things about Richard Allen that others may not know. But we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, because we don't have everything that we need to make those kinds of assumptions or those kinds of summations, you know. Hey, Gail, thank you so much, my dear. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. No, they did not lose the bullet. No, they did not lose the bullet. Thank you, Kamala. And, you know, I do think it's telling that his daughter has not been in court supporting him. I do find that interesting. I do. But again, you know, he is innocent until proven guilty in that court of law. I think that, yes, Boston, as far as I know, they can get their own experts and have their own experts run tests on the evidence, for sure. But there's a reason, you guys, that they're fighting so hard to get that search warrant thrown out. If the stuff in the search warrant doesn't matter to the defense, they wouldn't be fighting so hard. You got to remember that. There is a reason they are fighting so hard to get that search warrant thrown out. Oh, Gail, I didn't know you had surgery. My dear, I hope you are feeling better. Good Lord, you should be resting. I hope you're resting. I hope you're laying down, at least. Taking it easy. Oh, I know they're very concerned about the evidence against Richard Allen, CJK. I have no doubt in my mind that they are very concerned about the evidence against him. And that's why they're working so hard to get it thrown out, because they need to have that gun and that bullet go away. They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with the eyewitnesses that saw him. They do not want to have to deal with them. And especially the eyewitness that saw him on the bridge. So you know, we've said it before, and it's true. You know, you want a vigorous defense. You want your defense to fight for you, and you want your defense to give you the best possible chance. All of that's well and good. I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with them being able to just throw out any cock and bull story that they want, and put it out in the airwaves before trial, which is what they did, and surpassed a gag order. When you have a gag order in a case, it's for a reason. And all they have to prove is that Richard Allen kidnapped the girls. Game over. In the state of Indiana, all they have to do is prove the kidnap, that he took them off that bridge at gunpoint. That's it. Game over. If he took them off the bridge at gunpoint, what was the reason? What happened below the bridge that would have made him not be culpable or be part of it? I tend, from everything I've seen and all the evidence that I've seen, you guys, I still am leaning to a lone wolf. One person did this, and from everything that I've been able to see, Richard Allen fits it all. And most of the reasoning is because comes from his own mouth and his own admissions. I can't get past all of that, you guys. Hey, Mother of Dragons. So good to see you. How are you? So I can't. Oh no, Mitzi. I've never heard anyone come forward or anyone be interviewed that has known Richard Allen, except for the so-called information that we have, and I have it from a very good, reliable source, not a podcast, of his history when he was a manager at Walmart. And the people who worked with him spoke on his character. And he was an odd guy. And he was creepy. I think that there is a lot more to this story than we've heard. I think there's more evidence than we know about. And why do I say that? Because the prosecution is never going to divulge their entire case in a probable cause affidavit. They don't do that. They give you the bare minimum of what they need. They don't give you everything. Kamala, thank you so much for your super chat. I do not believe there has been given any reasonable excuse for the search warrant to be thrown out. In my opinion, that is my opinion only. And they have to prove what they're stating. They're stating that Tony Liggett lied, and they have to, stating it doesn't make it fact. I just can't get over the fact that he just gives me a vibe. I don't know how to put it or what it is, you guys, but I look at that man's eyes and I just see this blankness and almost like a darkness. There's a couple pictures of him that are spine tingling to me. So I don't know. Does law enforcement did they give the prosecution enough? Obviously, in their opinion, in the prosecution's opinion, they did, because they brought the charges. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. I do not believe that these detectives and this prosecutor, Nick McClellan, would have brought these charges against Richard Allen if they did not feel they had enough to take to court to prove what they were saying. They just wouldn't do it. I don't think they would do it to Mike and Becky Patty. I don't think they would do it to Anna Williams. I certainly don't think they would do it to Derek and Carrie. I don't think they would do that to these families of these two innocent girls. They didn't. I mean, and the people that are out there, Jamie, if you're still out there, hun, the people that are out there that are screaming, Richard Allen's being framed and all of this stuff, you know, you just need to ask them, why in the world, why, if they were going to frame somebody for this crime and make a patsy, why would they choose a man who has no criminal record, has never been in trouble with the law, no history, no nothing, when they have a man whom they had in custody, where the girls were found on their property, on his property? Why wouldn't they have used him? Come on. Because exactly, CJK, they wouldn't. And that's so true, Boston. It does save the defense a lot of work. If they can get those search warrants, they're going to try everything. They're going to try everything. Good defense attorneys try everything. Now, did they go about it the wrong way? Yes. I know who they are that are in the Discord with the defense. I would put money on it. I would bet money on it of who's in there talking to the defense and giving them all this back insider information. But yeah, I mean, you know, if they were going to set somebody up for this, they would have set up Ron Logan. He definitely would have been easier to pin something on, in my opinion, than just some guy, you know, that was out at the bridge that day who doesn't have any kind of history of anything. Oh yeah, for sure, Gail. And you know, that's the thing. A lot of times, and we've talked about this on this channel too, people don't always know who they think they know. And that includes family members. Hello, Ty West. Thank you for being here. Hi, Vicus V3. I agree with you. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. these people who so-called claim they want justice for Abby and Libby. And that's what I call it. They're just, they, we don't blame the family. We're not here to, accuse innocent people either. And I do believe, Ty, that they've made mistakes in this case. And I do believe that if they had been more transparent from the get-go, we wouldn't be here today. But that's not how Indiana's criminal law works, basically. From the arrests and the police departments all the way through their court system. They are not transparent. They keep everything close to the vest, not just in this case, all their cases. It's just how they are. Maybe that's one reason why they have one of the worst murder solvability rates in the country. 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, they were like 48th out of 50 states for the murder solvability rate in their state. And I said it, I said it to people on Reddit. I said it to people here on YouTube, other creators, my family, some of my close friends. That when they made an arrest in this case, we were going to see exactly what we're seeing. I told people that. There were going to be people that didn't believe it. There was no way they were going to believe when an arrest was made that they actually got the guy. No, Lynn, nobody was supposed to know who signed the PC until it was made public. I don't believe it was the reason he won sheriff. Don't believe that for a minute. But we've got a very disgruntled law enforcement officer in Carroll County who was running for sheriff against him, who feels that he was mistreated in a political and also a professional way. And that's completely separate from this case, even though it's been lumped together. And there's been a lot of things that have tainted this case and hurt this case. And I hope it's not hurt beyond repair. I guess that's my biggest concern. And I know Tech Death was here a little bit ago, and he said the same thing, that he's concerned about the prosecution case. And I've been concerned from day one. Now I'm even more concerned only because some of these bad actors that have inserted themselves into the middle of this case, and the things that they've done that to me have high Tech Death. And the guys who have inserted themselves into the case that have no business doing so and have actually done more harm than good. Hi, Sea King. It is possible that he was drunk when he did it, although everyone who saw him that day didn't say he acted that way. And I know that alcoholics can drink a lot and be really, really drunk and not appear to be drunk. So Yeah. Um, I don't believe that you confess to your mother that you murdered 2 innocent little girls. I just don't believe that you do that. And when I heard that, it was it was huge for me. And I definitely feel that, um, you know, I do believe that Kathy's in denial. She doesn't wanna believe that the man that she has loved all these years since high school could possibly do this. I mean, you talk about destroying your mother and breaking your mother, that would do it. Does she still love him? Yes. Is that why she's still supporting him? Yes. He will always be her child. He will always be her little boy. I'm not at all surprised that he's admitted it to her and she's still in court supporting him. That's her baby. That's her child. She's not going to give up on him. So, I mean, I think there's something different about being a bad boy and being a murderer. Just I'm just going to throw that out there. Um, and I said after Richard Allen was arrested, his family are victims as well. They become victims in all of this. Um, you know, Carrie Rawson, the daughter of BTK, wrote a book. I really, really highly recommend, if you haven't read it, to read it, because it gives you a really good insight on how families have to cope when one day everything is normal and within a split second your entire life implodes. And it's I just, I can talk about that in respect to the loss of my son, because one minute your life is normal and okay, and the next minute you get a cancer diagnosis of a 4-year-old, and everything that you knew to be normal and your way of life implodes. Everything is destroyed from that moment. And your realization is that nothing ever will be the same again. And as a mom, we have these, you have this bond with your child. And yeah, Tech Death, not all moms are Mother of the Year, and not all moms are gonna win that award. But for the most part, moms are going to support their child no matter what. And you and I've talked about this before. You are a wonderful person, and um, it's her loss. It's your mom's loss. But it's just something that has bothered me since I knew about it, was the fact that yeah, I can kind of see, um, I just can't imagine anybody confessing to their wife or their mother, um, in the situation in which he did it. And everybody has been talking about, and that was one of the other things I wanted to discuss. Everybody's been talking about how Richard Allen went to Westville, absolutely fell apart, lost all this weight, looks absolutely terrible. Really? He stopped drinking. He hadn't had any alcohol. Alcohol withdrawal is not pretty. So it's no wonder that he lost all the weight. It's no wonder that he was looking so awful. Uh, he wasn't eating. Plus, he wasn't drinking. And we know he has a drinking problem. Um, I don't believe his mental problems started with prison either. Um, Now, can being held incarceration, waiting for your day in court to prove your innocence, cause you all kinds of issues? Yeah, most definitely. Is jail or a cell a place that you want to be? Because you can talk about being in prison and you can talk about being in the county jail. It's all a cell, you guys, and the door gets locked behind you and you can't get out unless somebody lets you. And it's just like, um emotionally, we don't know what his mental health status was prior to. I think I think that he was doing things to try to bolster a defense of insanity, um or was out of his mind, didn't know what he was doing, or didn't know what he did was, what he did or whatever. um it's just, I, I just think we have to wait and see. I think it's really interesting that he's put weight back on, and now that things are, he's starting to look better. um he's had a lot of alone time to sit and think. Yeah, he broke his iPad that he had to use to call family. Um, but I do get that a lot of people are very, very upset because of where he's being held. And I go back and forth with that because I've been in Delphi. I saw how small the jail is there. And I get the whole point of they would not be able to keep him safe. I believe that his life would be really in danger in that small facility. That's just my opinion. Yeah, it is interesting that they're saying that, Seeking. I do find that interesting as well. And I like I said, I am not at all surprised that Kathy and his mother are still supporting him and showing up to court. It doesn't surprise me. And we've got a while to wait. That was one of the other motions that have been put forth. They are demanding a speedy trial within 70 days. They want a speedy trial for him. I swore that Richard Allen waived his right to a speedy trial, but I could be wrong. I swore to God he did. I'm going to have to go back and look that up because, but I think the prosecution was ready. So I don't think that it's going to be a bad thing if they try to get this pushed up. But if the Supreme Court does not allow the old attorneys back on the case and the new attorneys are the ones that are kept, they have to reasonably be given time to catch up. And I think that for whatever reason, guilt can be a really powerful thing. And he confessed to them because he was feeling guilty. And he had to come clean to them. But that's going to have to be explained. That's one of the things that they're going to have to overcome. Yes, Gail, most definitely. And that was a truth that did come out, that he did have a drinking problem. And I thought it was interesting because in the videos of them on vacation that were out there that we all got to see, I thought it was interesting how Kathy was encouraging him to stop at bars and drink because if you've got a drinking problem and you're trying to fix it or whatever, the last place you would want to be is in a bar 2 or 3 times a week playing pool. I think Boston, they are doing everything they can to keep him safe. Now, I will tell you, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but on Tuesday, a 35-year-old inmate at Westville Correctional Facility died from blunt force trauma, according to the coroner. His name was John R. Taylor. He's from Greene County, Indiana, and he was found Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. The Indiana State Police Criminal Investigation Division, the Lowell Post, is looking into the death of this man. And according to the ISP, he was found deceased on November 7th around 8 a.m. And the LaPorte County coroner determined he died from blunt force trauma. There is an investigation. He was serving a sentence for felony convictions out of Greene County. That's all they would say. Following the investigation, the case will be turned over to the LaPorte County prosecutor to determine if charges are going to be filed. And Westville's 150 miles northwest of downtown Indianapolis. So, even in Westville, everyone's not safe. Hey, Randy, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're feeling well and doing well. Yes, C. King, I've heard that as well. And if he did confess that he was the guy on the bridge, it's because after the photo came out and he knew that they had a photo of him on the bridge, he would have had to have made some sort of a that was me kind of thing. But why wouldn't he have gone to law enforcement? Since law enforcement actually put out there that they wanted to speak to this man, that's what they initially said, that he was a person of interest. They just needed to speak to him. He may have information. And then it was just 2 days later that they said he was the suspect, prime suspect. Hey, Fusa. How are you? I haven't seen you. I've missed you too. I hope you're doing great. You've been a member of my channel for 9 months. Congratulations and thank you so much for your support of the channel. It means everything to me. So, that's good to hear, Randy. Yeah, exactly, Shane. The man that admitted on a prison phone call to the crimes kept the gun and possibly clothing for years. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I believe in if Richard Allen is the guy who did this, if he is, I firmly believe that he thought he'd gotten away with this crime. I firmly believe that because, it was going on 6 years when they arrested him, and he didn't, he was living out there in plain sight and living his life. And I don't believe that he thought that for a minute that they were going to get him. And he's probably right, because when you really look at it, it didn't appear to be so, because it seemed like they were looking down different avenues. Again, we don't know. We don't know when law enforcement got wind of him. We don't know when they started looking at him. We don't know any of that. And I'm going to say it again for everybody that does follow me. When law enforcement came out on that late that night and asked us about the Anthony Schatz profile, and anybody who had information about Anthony Schatz or the profile or had interacted with the profile, to please contact the Abby and Libby tip line, not once did they say, anyone who has dealt with Kagan Klein, please call the tip line. Law enforcement is not the ones who put us on the heels of the Kleins. Social media did that. And Lynn's right. Doug Carter told us back in 2019 at that press conference, and I believe he was talking directly to Bridge Guy at that press conference, and I believe that the FBI orchestrated everything that was said during that 2019 press conference. And they said, you never thought we'd change directions, but we have. It's going to be super interesting to see what comes out in court. of the things that we don't know. And, as polygraphs go, Sea King, you know, polygraphs are not admissible for a reason in a court of law. Polygraphs can be maneuvered. Certain people who have no emotion or very little emotion can pass them conveniently. Law enforcement uses them for their own reason and their own tactics. A lot of times they want to see the reactions when they ask someone to take a polygraph. They're looking to see the body language and how they respond, things like that. But the polygraphs themselves are not as telling as a lot of people think they are. So I don't feel as strongly about polygraphs the same way I don't about sketches. I think sketches can do more harm to cases than good because unfortunately the public thinks a sketch is a photograph and they think that the sketch should look exactly like the person. And that you can't always get that much and that close in a sketch. And that's why Doug Carter kept telling us, watch the mannerisms. Look at the mannerisms of the person on that bridge. Because if you are a family member or you work with that person or interact with that person on a daily basis, you should recognize them. Oh my God. Can you imagine, Shane, all of the tips? I mean, over 70,000 tips came into that tip line, and those all had to be vetted. They all had to be looked at. And it's so easy to see how things can get lost in that mess, especially when you are dealing with a county as small as Carroll, who doesn't have the resources to put forth. And they were relying on the other agencies to work with them. We don't know what the FBI profile is because they never told us. They told us that he was local and that he was living there in plain sight. So, what I have heard about that situation in 26, I think it was 2016 or 2015, there was a call made to the Allen residence. It was a domestic. He had been drinking. And from what I understand is he went to rehab. That's what they said. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. It's never been spoken about by law enforcement, and until it is, I'm not one to hold a lot of weight to it. But there's also been rumors that he went away to the hospital, to a mental facility after the girls were murdered. So there's that story that's out there too. But Randy, what about the sketch, the first sketch that was done just 2 days after the 14th? What about that sketch? How come that sketch wasn't put out first? Gail, they were getting tips from all over the world. They weren't just getting tips from the locals. They were getting tips from social media. They were getting, web sleuths, people who were deep diving the case, people that thought they saw, that they knew something. I mean, there was people, they were getting tips from everywhere. Sorry, guys, I worked out right before I came online at the gym, and I'm super thirsty. It's just going to be super interesting. I mean, once I went to Delphi and I drove around Delphi and was in that small little community, because you guys, it's small. Here in the Midwest where I grew up, and I'm 3 hours from Delphi, directly west of Delphi in Illinois. We call these types of towns like Delphi we call them cow towns. Because if you blink, you missed it. It's really interesting that they thought it was the wrong person. I will be interested to see how that's explained in court when this case gets there. Because guaranteed, you guys, defense is going to bring up the sketches. They're going to bring up the fact that there's two sketches, that one of them looks like an older gentleman and one of them looks like a younger gentleman. And now, like I said, in my mind, when I see those two sketches and I'm looking just at the face and the nose, the eyes, the mouth, I see the same person, just from a different perspective, perhaps. And we've talked about that before. Children or young adults, when they look at people that are 40 or 50 years old, they think they're old. So they're going to give you an older look. Where older people look at someone, they might think they're younger. And yeah, he was. I mean, obviously, he was 6 years younger. And I definitely believe when you look at his picture from when they were on vacation, and I believe that was in 2018 is when they went, 2018 or 2019, because it was for their anniversary. And they went to Tennessee. I think if you look at him in those pictures, especially when they were horseback riding and they were out doing the trails and hiking, whatever, he looks young in those pictures, and he aged a lot in 6 years. And Randy, you know what? That is understandable. Can you imagine, being in that situation, being out there on the bridge that day and seeing somebody, and then have everything that happened, and then have to go back and describe the person that you saw? I mean, seriously, guys, say you were at the grocery store yesterday and you were at this say you were at the grocery store and you were grocery shopping or whatever, and you checked out and you had to go to the service desk, for some reason or whatever. The person behind the service desk waits on you. You go home, you unpack your groceries, you sit down, you have dinner with your family. The next thing you know, the news is on, and they're talking about the fact that they've arrested or they're not arrested, but they're looking for a person who committed a robbery or whatever of the grocery store, and it was an employee, and the employee actually worked at the service center. And they want you to describe that person. Anybody who may have saw this person or whatever, can you describe them? Can you imagine having to go back and try to describe the person, whatever they were wearing, how old they were? I mean, it's real easy to say that you'd be able to do it, but people, our minds don't work that way. And there's just so much research out there that talks about how our brains work when it comes to memory and the things that we retain. And when you don't know that you're going to be asked questions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days later, and sometimes months later, it becomes really difficult. And I know the same. I mean, I would be able to recognize my husband. I'd be able to recognize my brother. I'd be able to recognize my father. I mean, I have absolutely no doubt. And that is one of the reasons why Doug Carter kept telling us to not look at Bridge Guy's face, because you really can't see Bridge Guy's face. He wanted us to look at the video and watch the mannerisms, because he was speaking to people who knew this person, not to me sitting here in Illinois, or, to whomever sitting, somewhere else in Indiana. But the fact of the matter is that has gotten to me is that, how does this person commit this crime and go home and go to work and go back into life like nothing else has happened? Psychopaths and sociopaths are able to do that. They are able to do that. I wouldn't want to describe myself to an artist. Oh, I think that was, I mean, the giving of the photos to Tara. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's still the creepiest thing about him, is that interaction that he had. And, who knows, how many times he may have seen the Patties, or he may have seen the Germans, or he may have seen the Williams. Stop and think about that, you guys, as he's working at the CVS all these years. It's really mind-boggling. I think that there will be a lot for us to discuss when it's finally over. I don't know if it's going to be sooner than later. I know that the trial has been rescheduled till October of 2024, which I kind of find ironic, because it's supposed to run till Halloween, which is my birthday. Wouldn't that be ironic? I just know what's been asked for. And Richard Allen is asking for a speedy trial And there's a part of me that wants it. I am ready. I don't know about you guys, but if you look at his, Lynn, if you look at his photographs from back when he was in, hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull one up. Hold on a minute. No, 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 no. Sorry, guys. Just give me a sec. I'm just looking for something. That's not it. Present. Slides. The computer. I'm looking. I'm looking. Oh. I'm looking for a specific photograph of him, so just give me a minute. While I search for it, because to me, it's kind of a telling photo. This one does it pretty good. Let's pull this one up. Well, that was weird. Give me 1 second. I think I can find it this way too. Excuse me. Because this is the picture I'm looking for. Uploads. Let me find you. Where are you? Let's see. File. Create new design. All right. Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, I found it, or I got it. Just a minute. I'm going to share it. Sorry, it took me so long. Sometimes it's difficult to get StreamYard to do what I want it to do. Okay, here you go. So here is a picture of him. This is a picture of him on vacation in Tennessee with Kathy after this happened. This is also taken at that same time. Both of these pictures. Look how his face in this one looks so much thinner than it does in this one. It just goes to show you how you can change by different cameras, different camera angles, so on and so forth. Lighting, all of that makes a difference in how we appear on a camera. This is taken after the crime. He's clean shaven and he shaved his head. And that is another red flag to me, is why did he do those things? Because if you remember when the FBI agent stood up at the presser and told us, he told us this person will change their appearance. This person will drastically change their appearance. And they do. If you look at his nose, to me, this nose is this nose. And I think it's this nose as well. It's just, this bridge is just wider. And if you look at this picture of him, his nose doesn't seem as narrow. Hang on, let me see if I can get this bigger. I mean, this is him a year after February 2017. Look at his eyes. Look at his mouth. I mean, I'm just saying, you guys, you can think what you want. I mean, everybody has their own thoughts about these two sketches. But these two sketches overlaid is the same person to me. And when you listen to Doug Carter talk about this, he told us that. He told us that. He said, you will be able to take the two sketches and put one on top of the other, drop them, and there will be Bridge Guy. So for people who say that this is not a match, I just don't see it. I can't see that, because when you look at it in this fashion, and this picture here, he is sitting on the lap of his son-in-law, just so you guys know that this picture, the son-in-law has been cropped out, but that's what was happening here. This is actually inside his house. But yeah. So, that's what we've got to go on. And I do think the day that they announced him, and I went and got the picture of what he looked like, I nearly fell off my chair. I immediately sent it to my daughter, and I said, "This is the guy they arrested for Delphi." And she was blown away. She said, Mom, that's him. So, we all see things differently. Some of us see something else, some of us see this, but that's why I said the sketches don't hold as much weight for me as they do for some, because to me it's not matching like a photograph, but it's more matching the structure of the face. And to me, the structure of his face matches. And I don't know how you unsee that. That's just me. But no matter what, it's going to be a huge bone of contention by the defense that they have two separate sketches, and they're going to make a big deal out of it, that one of them is young, one of them is old. So did law enforcement not know who they were looking for? And, Gail, you take it easy. You go rest. Okay. And I will talk to you soon. You take care of yourself and you rest. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate it. But anyway, so there's going to be a lot of things that are going to have to come together in court for this case. And, I don't know what's going to happen with the Supreme Court. I don't know how this is going to go. But my thinking is if this keeps up the way it's going with all these motions and nobody doing anything, that's not fair to Richard Allen either. The fact that everything is at a standstill in this case right now because the attorneys and the judge and everybody else are in this predicament. So I'm happy if the Supreme Court puts their foot in it and says, we're done. Let's just do a redo, get a new judge, new attorneys, and be over. I don't think that's what's going to happen. That's a lot of wasted revenue and time. So who knows? We may have a trial earlier than we think, and if he's ready to go to trial, then so be it. We'll see what the state has. We'll get to hear all the evidence, and then we'll get to weigh in and see, what we all think and what each of us think as far as what's presented. So I know that I've been getting a ton of emails and lots of notifications from people asking me if the death penalty has been taken off the table. No, this is still a death penalty possible case. They have not said if they're seeking the death penalty yet. I don't know when they have to announce that, but they have not said it. So it will be interesting to see what happens with that. Because in my opinion, there has to be a really, really, really strong case for the death penalty. In my opinion. So it will be interesting to see. Most often, in all cases, the prosecution and the defense are working to try to not have a case go to court and to trial. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and the counties are the ones who have to foot the bill for the prosecution of these cases, and it's a lot. And so the state, any chance they get, and the courts in Indiana are overrun with cases, and especially in Indianapolis, in that county. Oh my Lord. So it will be interesting. But if they firmly believe, I believe at this point in time, by everything that we've seen with the old attorneys, they don't want to do a plea deal. They would much rather go to court and throw out the Odinism angle and work with that. I haven't heard, Kamala, but I do know that Andrew Baldwin told them that they'd have it by end of day or end of the week. That was last week. They were supposed to turn over all the discovery. Yeah, Lynn, like I said, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what these new attorneys think about this case and how they want to proceed. It will be really interesting. And another thing is, will Richard Allen cooperate with the new attorneys? Because that's the other thing. He wants the old attorneys, so he may not even cooperate with these new ones. It's just a mess. It really is. And my heart goes out to Becky and to Kelsey and Derek and Mike. I just and Anna and her parents, and to Carrie. I'm gonna close it with that tonight because I want them to know that no matter what happens, that we are behind them 150% because we want justice in this case. I've spent close to 7 years of my life following this case, researching, reading and listening to interviews and reading everything I could get my hands on and, talking to people and all of it. And the case has become very important to me. I feel in so many ways that I've come to know who Abby and Libby were and just feel close to the case because of that. And I just want justice for them. They deserve nothing less. And all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes and all this stuff that keeps happening on social media and, Facebook and YouTube and Reddit and wherever else social media is talking about this, TikTok, whatever. All of these armchair detectives who think they know better than law enforcement, I say, hats off to you. Go apply tomorrow to be the detective in the real world and do this job in the real world because you can do it so well from sitting behind a computer. And that's what my take is on it. And I know that keeping these cases out here and us talking about them is a good thing. But I don't think that everybody does right by the cases. I don't think everybody's in it for all the right reasons. And that bothers me and has bothered me ever since I started my YouTube channel nearly 2 years ago. So, and I will continue to speak out when I can about that, but I've never been one to try and police YouTube. It's not my place to do that. But I am never going to idly sit by and just let these people say some of the things that they say about Kelsey and the families and get away with it. And the fact that a YouTuber that's in Australia is listed in these motion documents and the Faxx document is disgusting. This person knows nothing about this case. Nothing. Didn't follow the case since day one. This person has had multiple YouTube channels banned, shut down, and comes back. And yet the defense thought this person was credible enough to include them in this case. And they're not, that channel's not the only one. So, you know, they're the ones who have to live with themselves and look themselves in the mirror every day. It's not my place to do that for them. But you guys, thank you so much for hanging with me tonight. I didn't expect this to be a 2-hour live, but you know me, sometimes when I get on a tangent, I can just go, and I am sorry that I kept you guys here for so long, but I'm glad that you stuck it out with me. And I hope that everybody has a good weekend. It's supposed to be unseasonably warm here, but then it's supposed to rain really hard, I think, all next week. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of weather we have going into our Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to my Thanksgiving with my family this year. I feel 150% better than I felt last year. I physically am like a whole new person, and I'm just getting stronger and stronger every day. I've lost 50 pounds since August, since I had my surgery, and I've lost 146 pounds overall. So I am a whole new person. I feel like my old self again. And I think that that's a good thing. I say there's the Kristen before my mother passed away in 2017. And there's the Kristen after I lost my mother and father in 2017. And I'm finally feeling like the Kristen before that. So I feel, like I said, I feel really good. Being back in the gym has really helped. I sleep better. I have a lot more energy. I can't say enough about that. And right now I'm doing all of my workouts in the water because I do have a knee that needs desperately to have surgery on it. And I'm trying to baby it until I'm trying to wait for as long as I possibly can before I have it fixed. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm very busy spending a lot of time on myself and self-care, which is something that I can't say enough about. I hope that all of you, Gail, if you're still listening or you listen to this later, my deepest prayers are with you for your speedy recovery. I hope that you feel better soon. Sharon, I'm so sorry to hear what you've been going through out there, and I hope beyond hope that you feel better soon. I know exactly what those kind of heart condition scares can be like, because I had one a year ago, October, and it's not fun to be going through all of that. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much. I am so happy. Like I said, I just feel amazing. So it's I'm looking, like I said, I'm looking forward to having all my family together and all around me. We're getting ready to come into the holidays. Holidays are always a rough time for me because my son was diagnosed on Christmas Day with his diagnosis of cancer, if you can believe that or not. And so Christmas was always one of my favorite times of year, and then it kind of got lambasted because of that diagnosis. But then after I had my grandchildren, it was like it brought joy back to me, and I look forward to the holidays now, to spend time with them and to be around them and have all the love around them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. For all the people that have loved ones out there that are in harm's way tonight, please know that my heart goes out to all of you, our men and women in uniform, whether it be law enforcement or our men and women in our armed forces. I think about you and pray for you every single day, because it's not easy being a family member having members in harm's way. I know what that's like. I lived it for years, and it's not a fun thing to be in. So my heart goes out to you. I hope that all of you have a great rest of your weekend. Stay safe. And please, please, please be kind when you can. It doesn't take anything to be kind. And if you get a chance in the next few days, pay it forward. Do something for someone else. Thank you so much, you guys. Good night. God bless you.